Okay, everybody, welcome back. Once again, I'm William Moore, one of the founders of Moore Criminal Defense. We're going to talk for a little bit longer, and then you're going to hear about DUI from one of my law partners, William Dorenzo, and then about some really heavy crimes from Jim Wyke. Okay, let's talk about the new drug trafficking some more. What drug trafficking is today, what we're seeing as criminal defense attorneys in South Florida, the changes that have taken place, the types of cases, types of drugs, way they're treated, way the police handle the situations, and what the new drug trafficker looks like. Cocaine cowboys traded pistols for pills. Okay, I didn't write that, but I get it. So it's true. We're not seeing trafficking for cocaine like we used to at all. What we're seeing are cases involving trafficking of prescription medication, and it doesn't take much. You know, in the 80s, when Florida got into trouble with a massive drug problem, meaning that public policy dictated that we do something, it was proximity. Our location made it easy to run drugs into South Florida. And there's a lot of reasons for this, but the one I like to talk about is the birth or the perfection of the go fast boat, the speedboat, the cigarette, the scarab. And these boats were modified in the 80s to go faster than anything else. And, you know, history repeats itself so often. What do we see in Prohibition? We saw bootleggers, runners souping up their cars and outrunning the police. Well, that's what the boats were doing in the 80s. That's not happening anymore. Here's a U.S. Customs boat and Border Protection. I think there's 5 300s or 350s on this thing. And this is even the one they're going to chase you down with. They'll catch you. And not to mention all of the surveillance and the radar and whatnot. But I still remember the days when boats would, if you had a speedboat and it was the late 80s, the Coast Guard and Customs, they would stop you if you left from here and went to Bimini, came back. They would stop you. They'd board your boat. There's no expectation of privacy or anything like that. There's no constitutional protections out there. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection, I said Border Patrol, I mean, Border Protection is the same thing, but they would tear your boat to pieces. They'd rip up all the vinyl and look for drugs, and they didn't have to replace it or compensate you. But anyway, our proximity is what got us into trouble then. And what we saw back then was cocaine, heroin. And I think that the general public still perceives this sort of thing when they think about drug trafficking or they hear the term drug trafficking. And of course, they're a bit skeptical as to what really goes on when somebody traffics these types of substances. But I can tell you a lot of what you see in the movies is true about the more rare forms of drug trafficking, huge amounts of cocaine, and was more prevalent in the 80s. But yeah, you saw very wealthy individuals. You saw busts with guns, assault rifles. You had organized crime like you wouldn't believe, extreme violence, dealings with cartels in other countries, and the transporting of this product over into Florida. And it wasn't just cocaine or heroin, it was marijuana. These things were brought in during the 60s, but we saw the height of it in the 80s, and something was done about it. And those were increased laws. increased laws that, and when I say increased laws, modifications to the drug laws with regard to, let's say, the substance, cocaine. Well, it didn't matter how pure the cocaine was or how much actual narcotic was in the powder mixed with whether it was sugar or carpet cleaner or the various fillers that are used by drug cutters, drug dealers, as it goes down the line from manufacturer to street sales. If you have a bag of powder and it's primarily a very fine type of sugar mixed with a very small amount of cocaine, the lawmakers established that it was the aggregate weight of the substance. So they didn't have to go in and test the powder for purity.